my name is Matilda and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I am sharing with you guys my flawless foundation routine. So I'm going through absolutely everything from primer to foundation, concealer, and also showing you guys my bronzer, blush, and highlight as well, just to finish off the whole base. This is the foundation I do when I want to feel super glam and look absolutely flawless in photos and in real life. I hope this video gives you guys some tips and tricks for different things that you can do to make your base look absolutely perfect in any situation. And just if you want to add some more steps or products into your routine to help you feel a little bit more glam as well. Thank you so much as always for tuning in to watch my video. Make sure if you are excited for the video to give this video a like, and also while you're down there, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do videos every single week and I would love to have you guys here a part of my little YouTube family. So if you do want to see more videos from me, do not forget to subscribe just down below there. So without further ado, if you want to see what I do for my flawless foundation routine, just keep on watching. So the first step in my flawless foundation routine is to moisturize. And I just find that just gets my base completely ready for makeup. I like to do this a little bit before I apply foundation, just so that it can kind of like sink into my skin and it's not too slippery. But my face is pretty dry, so I don't have to wait too long, because otherwise then it kind of just all sinks in. There was no point in putting it on anyway. Next up on the prime train, I like to do a illuminating primer. I like to do one before and then also mix one into my foundation because my face is quite dry. I do need an illuminating primer in my foundation or under my foundation, just so that my foundation doesn't look too cakey or dry, because then I feel like it looks a little bit gross. So I'm going to use my strobe cream. This is just a little mini sample one, and just apply that all over my face. I love this as well because it's like super cooling and just really nice and refreshing on the skin as well. And I freaking love the smell of it. I don't know about anyone else. So next up for primer, if my face is looking a little bit red, I'll use the Stila One Step Correct, which I think just tones down the redness of my face. But I'm not feeling super red today, so I'm not going to use that one. But I am going to go in with the Too Faced Primed and Poreless, just over my nose and my forehead and kind of around my mouth area where I have some pores and texture, just to help smooth that all out and make it look really nice and flawless. I'm just going to squirt out like a pea-size amount. You really don't need much. And I'm just going to put that all over there. I'm mainly focusing it on my cheeks because that is where most of my pores are. And I'm really like pressing it into the skin. Alright, so my favorite foundation combination at the moment for a completely flawless base that looks absolutely amazing in photos and in real life. Whenever I wear this combination, I get so many compliments. Everybody wants to know what foundation I'm wearing. So I definitely would recommend this one if it suits your skin type. So the foundation combination is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Foundation. This one is in the shade 290, which is my very fake tanned shade. And the reason why I like this one is because it is very light and liquidy, so it doesn't feel too thick on the skin or anything like that, which is quite hard to find with such a full coverage foundation. It kind of reminds me of the L'Oreal True Match in that way, because True Match is very thin, very liquidy, but it is such good full coverage. So if you didn't want to get the Fenty Beauty one, try the L'Oreal True Match because you might like that one as well. But this one is amazing. It just completely blurs out the skin and makes the skin look absolutely perfect and flawless. It especially looks amazing in photos. I got some photos at a party on the weekend. My skin just looked airbrushed. It was like, I couldn't believe it. And I was wearing this one with the next foundation that I am about to mention. But as this foundation is a more matte formula, I mean, it's not super matte. I can get away with wearing this on its own. I don't really mind it too much. I mean, I'm not the most dry skinned person, but I'm definitely not oily. So I can get away with wearing this on its own, but I still do like more of a dewy finish. So I like to mix this with the Bourjois Healthy Mix Serum, which on its own is my go-to for a flawless finish. This one is a really unique foundation because it's kind of like a gel. You won't really like understand what I'm talking about until you try it. It's like thick, but not in like a cakey way, if that kind of makes sense. It's just a really beautiful foundation, and I love mixing this with everything basically, just because I love the texture that this gives foundation and also how easy it makes other foundations to go on as well. So I pretty much mix this with absolutely every foundation that I have because I love it so much. This one is in 51, which is my lighter shade. So when my foundations are too dark, if my tan is fading like it is here, if you can see how patchy my neck is, I like to mix in a lighter foundation just so that it matches my neck properly. I find that this foundation works really well with the Fenty foundation if you are a little bit more dry, because I feel like it makes the foundation just a little bit more dewy and easier to work with if you don't have super oily skin. I would also recommend, if you are using the Fenty foundation, to prime like I have with moisturizer and an illuminating primer just to help it really get over the face a lot easier. But yeah, that is the combination of foundation that I have been using to get a completely flawless face. So I'm just going to mix these two together. I usually do like equal parts of each, but obviously it depends on how fake tanned I am, but I am going to do equal parts. I do like 3 to 4 pumps because my pumps are quite small. I don't know if the tube is just blocked, but I kind of have to pump it a bit to get it out, but I just do equal parts. And to make the foundation a little bit more glowy and even more flawless, I like to mix in the Cover FX Custom Enhancer drops. This one is in the shade Sunlight. It's a really golden bronzy shade, which obviously works really well with my fake tan. And I feel like because obviously the shimmers reflect light, they really reflect any texture away and just make the skin look super smooth and super flawless, and obviously really glowy as well, which just makes you look healthy and amazing too. So I'm just going to add a couple drops. You don't want to do too many drops of the Cover FX drops because it looks a bit silly. Trust me, I've done it before and I looked like a Tin Man. So I'm just going to spread the foundation on my face with a paddle foundation brush. Is that what these are called? This is actually a face painting brush. It's not even a makeup brush technically, but it does the job. And like everyone says, if you do fake tan and you have or even if you don't fake tan, if your face is a lighter color than your neck or your chest, you want to match your foundation to your neck and your chest, not your face. If I matched my foundation to what my natural face color is, I would have a white face and a very tanned body, which wouldn't look very good. Now obviously we're always told to match to the color of our face, but as a lot of people say, and I think a lot of people know now, that's definitely not the case. You really do want to make sure that your foundation matches your body. So I'm going to quickly blend that out before it sets down, because the Fenty Beauty does dry down quite quickly. And I like to use a buffing brush, but that's just my personal preference. I know a lot of people love the Beauty Blender, but I just find it takes too long for me. It's just a bit of a hassle to use, so I just go for my trusty buffing brush. And then I just go back in with some more foundation and apply it where I need that little bit more coverage, which is usually on my cheeks and around my mouth and on my forehead as well, because that's usually where I get my blemishes and also where my pigmentation here is on my cheeks. And building up the coverage where you need it is really where the foundation gets that really flawless finish. Dropped my brush, because that's when you can kind of customize the foundation to suit you and make your skin look as flawless as you want it to. And I'm just making sure to bring it down my neck as well, because we don't want a pale patchy neck if we can help it. So now for concealer, I'm using my favorite Maybelline Master Conceal. I'm just going to be applying that to all the places that we usually highlight, and I just use my finger because why not? My face. might as well use my phalanges. That's your fingers, right? Not your toes. Hope not. Don't use your toes for your makeup. And as you can see, I like to do a concealer that's a bit lighter than my foundation, just to bring back a bit of dimension into the face, because I find when you put one foundation color all over your face, it can look quite flat. So you just want to bring out some highlights, and then later we'll do some shadows with the bronzer and contour, just to bring back that dimension to your face and make your face look a little bit more realistic. And again, I'm using my trusty brush. This one is just an angled face buffer brush. And because I have a couple of blemishes on my face, I'm going to use my MAC Pro Longwear Concealer, which is a super thick full coverage concealer. And this is in a shade that kind of matches my foundation color. So it's pretty much the same as my foundation color. Because I don't want to highlight my blemishes, I want them to blend into the rest of my skin. So I'm using a shade that matches my foundation color, and I'm just going to pump out a tiny little bit and dot it on. I am going to let it sit for a little bit so it kind of like sets, and then I'm going to blend it out with a little buffing brush. This one is in the shade NC30 as well. I'm just going to dot that on my little blemishes. I'm just going to let it set for a couple seconds, like 30 seconds, just so that it's not super liquidy and easy to blend, because I want the coverage to stay there on the blemishes. If you're impatient like me, you can start off with the ones that are like less visible first, that are like easier to cover, and then move up to the ones that are a little bit more difficult. And to blend it out, I'm just using super duper light feathery strokes, because I don't want to take away too much of the coverage. Alright, so now to set everything down, I'm taking my Laura Mercier Loose Translucent Powder, and I'm just going to set under my eyes, my forehead, and also on top of the blemishes that I have around my face. I'm not really one to bake as such, but I do like to put on a little bit extra powder first and then dust off the excess later, but I'm not going to like leave it on forever, because I just find that makes my foundation too crepey and tight, and I don't really like that feeling. So I don't really do a proper bake, call it like a half bake, a baby bake. And kind of with what's left on the brush, I do like my upper lip and chin, and then I brush away the excess powder. And again, around any blemishes, you want to be quite light-handed, because you obviously don't want to take away any of the concealer coverage. And if you find you have taken away some of the coverage, you can go back in with your concealer on top, just to try and add a little bit more, but just be warned that can get a little bit cakey, so you do have to be very careful with that. But you can always try and put a little bit more concealer over the top of your powder if you find that your powder has taken off some of that product that was underneath, covering any of your blemishes. Now to set the rest of my face, I'm going to use the Australis Fresh and Flawless. This one is in the shade Medium Tan. I'm just taking a big fluffy blending brush and just lightly putting that all over my face. I don't like a lot of powder, so I like to keep it very light. But if I want my foundation to last a really long time, I do like to set down, especially around here on my cheeks, because I find that foundation really rubs off there on me. So I do like to set it down a little bit there as well, just to give it a little bit more longevity. Now that's basically it for the actual foundation, but I am going to do my bronzer, blush and highlight, just so you can see the full finished base as well. So for bronzer, my favorite is the Too Faced Sweethearts bronzer. I find that it is just a really lovely color and sheen, so I do really like that one. And I do like to put a shimmery bronzer on and then a matte contour. I do my bronzer first, I don't really know why, so I'm just fluffing that on the cheek and cheekbone area, and also up on my forehead a little bit as well, and a little bit on my chin. For contour, I'm taking my Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, and I'm mixing these two lighter shades together and just applying that where my cheekbone is. I do like a straight line first, and then kind of like brush it up into my bronzer. I don't do contour like every time, only really if I'm like going out. During the day, I usually just leave it at the bronzer. I'm also doing it under my lip just to make my lip pop a little bit, and then just around like the perimeter of my nose. I'm not super fussy on nose contouring. I just like to put a bit there to kind of tie in all of the bronzer and contour, because otherwise I feel like the middle of your face is a little bit white. Next up for blush, I like to go for a warm mid-tone blush usually. And for the blush placement, I like to apply it just to the apples of my cheek here, and then bring it back up my cheekbone as well. I like to apply my blush like that because I find it lifts the face. If I just put it on the apples of my cheeks, I find it's a little bit just like there. Whereas if I bring it back up with my contour, it lifts the face and looks a little bit more natural as well, I think. And I do like to apply quite a lot of blush because blush fades first, and I want to make sure that I'm looking pretty and flushed all day long. So for highlighter, I normally go for my Becca Champagne Pop, but I don't have it with me today, so I am going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Nicole Guerrero palette, and I'm going to use the shade Glow Getter. And for my highlighter placement, I like to kind of look in the light and see where the light naturally hits, and I like to put it in like a C shape, just like that. And I really like to try and blend out my highlighter really well, especially when it's one that's this intense like the Anastasia one is. I don't want to look too like bam. Like obviously it is very intense, but I still want it to look like we blended it out properly. I also like to take it on my brow bone and a little bit just above here. Not too much though, because it can look a little bit crazy. So it's just kind of here, like at the edge of my eye, and back in a C shape, just up to the end of the brow, and then on the brow bone and a little bit above here as well. Then I also like to apply it to the tip of my nose, which some people don't like. I do because I really like the tip of my nose. I like how it's quite pointy, so I don't mind accentuating it. If you don't like the tip of your nose, then do not highlight it, because obviously it's going to draw attention to the tip of your nose, which if you don't like, then obviously you don't want to do that. So only highlight the tip of your nose if you like your nose, basically. I do, so I am going to highlight the tip of my nose because I think it looks really cute. And then I also highlight this upper bridge of my nose as well. And then of course the Cupid's bow. Try to keep this on the Cupid's bow and not go up here, because that can look a little bit crazy as well. So I like to just do a really light hand and super lightly dust it so it's on the Cupid's bow. And I almost forgot, the final step is some setting spray. I like to just use Fix Plus because I like that really glowy dewy look, but I also like the Urban Decay All Nighter, which I find helps my makeup last longer as well. But I do like to use a setting spray or any kind of mist just to set down the powders and make everything kind of melt in together and look like one on the skin. So that is basically my finished flawless foundation look. This is what I do if I want my base to look absolutely perfect and flawless in pictures and in real life. Because I look a little bit crazy without any eyeshadow, lips or brows, I am going to do that and then come right back, and I will see you soon. And so this is the base with my eyes and lips done, just so you can see it all together with the rest of my makeup. I hope this flawless foundation routine was helpful for you guys and gives you some tips and tricks on things that you can do to just enhance your routine and make your foundation look absolutely flawless in photos and in real life as well. Thank you so much as always for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel while you're down there as well, if you do want to see some more videos from me. Thank you again for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I hope to see you guys in my next one. Bye guys!